back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Perlmutter, I enjoyed our conversation yesterday, and thank you for taking the time to come by. And as my colleagues have said, the work you do is important to my fellow Tennesseans that are songwriters and artists and authors and musicians. Your office is vitally important. I will say also to a lot of our healthcare innovators that have patents, it is vitally important, and it's why we are seeking to work on this issue and protect the constitutional right that our innovators have to benefit from their creations. I remind them all the time, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 is about them, and we should be protecting that. I want to stay with the fair use question for just a minute, and I appreciated your report. We touched on this yesterday, and I appreciated the opportunity to submit my comments on the topic during your notice of inquiry last year. And I've said before, and this is something we say a good bit in Nashville, fair use is a fairly useful way to steal my creation. And we've seen this happen a lot in the music industry first and subsequently into others. And I addressed and argued for a narrowed application of that standard in the Warhol versus Goldsmith case, which, as you know, sided with the original photographer in that case. And I think that having that clear understanding is vital. So coming a different way from my colleague's question, when we talk about this, and you talk about this unlicensed AI ingestion of copyrighted works, then should that or should that not be considered under a fair use doctrine?
Well, the fair use doctrine applies as long as you have an initial act of reproduction. And one of the beauties of the fair use doctrine is, even though, of course, it was developed at a time before the existence of AI, or certainly generative AI, it is flexible enough to apply to new technologies. So the doctrine applies. How you apply it, though, is a different question.
So then you would apply it in that, and I think that's an important distinction.
Yes.
That yes, indeed, it does apply because of that flexibility. And therefore, that gives standing to these original creators to go after bad actors. And of course, with the No Fakes Act that Senator Coons and Senator Tillis and Senator Klobuchar and I have, this is something that would provide that extra protection for these creators. So whether it's copying their voice or copying their works, they have a legal standing and a right to defend themselves in their creation.
Yeah, which is important because copyright law doesn't extend to protecting images and voices in themselves. So I agree that's important. And also, just to clarify, when I say fair use applies, I mean the doctrine is available to analyze that situation, not that we've concluded that any particular conduct is fair use.
As you said, it has flexibility.
Yes.
Okay, I want to ask you about something else that has come up recently with some of our artists, and this is Spotify's bundling system. And as you can imagine, we've got a lot of people whose music is on Spotify, and they're not really happy with this. And they feel like what Spotify did with offering audiobooks. And then, you know, they're doing this, these standalone subscriptions, and then they reclassify 50 million users. And in the end, the creator gets less money. So I'd like to have you comment on what protections are there, because every time somebody does this, every time Spotify does this, when you look at them coming up with these bundle plans and offering the audiobooks as a free service, if you've got the monthly music subscription, and then turning around and doing a book subscription standalone a little bit later, and then reclassifying their 50 million users, it is Spotify that's making the money, and it is the creator that gets fewer pennies.
We're certainly aware of the
Okay.
issue and of the litigation. I can't comment on the merits of the pending litigation, but we are following it. It is the issue of how you calculate the royalties for bundles is not something that the Copyright Office is directly involved in. It really is a question of the regulations of the Copyright Royalty Board. But we are certainly following what's
watching.
happening in the
I
litigation.
appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator